I'm a seasonal park ranger in Alaska, and I'm the author of 2 books. If we could get that slideshow going. My first book is called Walden on Wheels. It's a book about student debt, about my journey to pay off student debt. And I lived in a 1994 Ford Econoline van for 2 years as I was trying to avoid debt. My second book is the one you see on the screen right now. Perfect timing. Let's get some blinking lights from the ceiling as well. Here we go. So let me tell you a little bit about this book. Let me start at my rock bottom. I just graduated from college, and I was living in Dead Horse, Alaska, way up there. This was in the middle of the oil industry. This is an Arctic labor camp for oil workers, and I was a dishwasher. And Dead Horse, it's not a real town. There's no churches, there's no families, there's no schools. It's just a lot of equipment and a lot of dudes. I mean, there's like a 9-to-1 male to female ratio in Dead Horse. And I know, ladies, what you're thinking, I'm going to go up to Alaska and have options. But we have a saying up in Alaska you guys should be aware of, and that's the odds are good, but the goods are odd. So I'm 28, I'm broke, I'm washing dishes for a living, and I can say from experience, when you're 28 and broke and washing spoon after spoon in the middle of the night in a silent kitchen at an Arctic labor camp 300 miles north of the Arctic Circle, you begin to question the direction your life is headed in. But I can say this also from experience, and that's the soul must be caged before it can be set free. And what I mean by that, we got some... I think that stopped it. Okay. And what I mean by that is that it's in our worst moments of despair, of meaninglessness, of purposelessness, when we're most ready for a big change, to commit to something big. So when the cook next to me, my buddy Liam, suggested we go hike the Keystone XL pipeline, I dropped my potato soup bowl in the sink and said, "We must." This was back in 2011. Keystone XL, that might sound random, but it was in the news all the time back then. People were going to jail for it. They were protesting it. They were living lives of meaning and sacrifice. This was a pipe that would become a historic battleground in what I believe is the most important war of the 21st century, and that's over climate change. And yet here I am, working a dead-end job for the oil industry. I wanted that meaning. I wanted that purpose. I decided right then and there that I was going to hike every single mile of that pipeline. And what does it mean to hike a pipeline? I couldn't take roads because pipelines don't take roads. They don't follow roads. Pipelines prefer to go across croplands, grasslands, private property. So this meant if I wanted to hike the Keystone XL, I'd have to do the same. I'd have to walk across Alberta prairie, Saskatchewan pasture, Montana hills, South Dakota canyons, Nebraska cornfields, Kansas cow country, and then the oil wells and refineries of Oklahoma and Texas. To hike the Keystone XL, I'd essentially have to trespass across America. So I bought a lot of food. I spent about $1,000 on, calorie-dense stuff that was going to keep. I've learned a thing or two about nutrition since then. Here I am mixing up a big box of trail mix. I'm boxing up all of this food. My buddy in Denver, he's going to ship these boxes to post offices along my route. I buy a mapping software system and print out about 100 maps. So I'm going to be walking with a compass in one hand and a topographic map in the other. Lots of little gear, med kit, jackknife and bear spray for protection. On the bottom there are some chlorine dioxide drops to purify my water. I'm carrying a tarp tent. This thing just weighed about 1.5 pounds. When you're going across country, every ounce counts, so you want to go as light as possible. I'm carrying an iPad. I want to share my journey with others. I want to blog about it. So every night in my tent, I'm writing, I'm blogging, I'm editing photos, I'm editing videos. Here I am, ready to go, about 45 pounds on my back. So the goal is, you can't really see the line here, but from Hardisty all the way down to Port Arthur, that's my route. I'm going to walk all those miles. And kind of one of the great benefits of going on an adventure, I'd say half of it is just anticipating the adventure. So I would picture Liam and I trudging across the lonely, wide-open prairie, kind of like Sam and Frodo on a long, perilous expedition. We'd take care of each other. We'd lift each other up when we were down. And perhaps, like the hobbits, in moments of utter hopelessness, hold hands in that tender, brotherly, pre-20th century way. I imagined us on a journey of high adventure, escaping gunfire, taking cover from tornadoes, and maybe whispering in a moment of life or death suspense with the hushed tone of poised determination, run. One small problem, Liam remembered he was banned from Canada for an offense he committed in his wayward youth, as he put it. So this was going to be a solo journey, unfortunately. So this is the sort of terrain I'm walking over. This is the Alberta prairie. And when I started my hike, it was middle of September, and I'm terrified about getting hit by winter in like Montana. So the goal is to walk really fast. I'm camping wherever I can find some cover, and on the prairie, this is sometimes as many trees as I could find. The wind blows so hard over the plains. I would use this abandoned shack in Montana as a windbreak. Once in South Dakota, I got nailed by a blizzard for 3 days, so I found this abandoned barn and slept in there. And for the first couple weeks, I'm walking in an almost constant state of fear. I'm worried about upsetting landowners. I'm trespassing across their property. Am I going to get shot? I'm worried about winter coming, and more than anything, I'm worried about all these cow herds that I'm walking through. And I remember I came across this rancher. Her name was Doris, and I'm like, Doris, what do I do if a cow charges me? And she said, just look them in the eye and talk to them manly. And observing that I was not the person to look them in the eye or talk manly, she said, when they charge, just step to the side of them, tire them out like that. Step to the side. That's not what you want to hear. For water, I got my water from ponds and lakes and windmills. I didn't even know what these things were when I was out there. I thought they were just kind of decoration for the prairie. But if you don't know, like me, they're windmill springs, wind blows, it pumps up water, and cows drink out of a trough. But when I couldn't find any of these, I would start knocking on doors. And this was my opportunity to talk with folks about environmentalism, pipelines, Keystone XL, climate change. Guys like Carl, who pointed to his backyard and said that the pipeline running through it was the best thing that's ever happened to him. Or Stan, who told me that climate change was nothing but a left-wing hoax. Or Frank, who told me all about all the wild land he'd grown up in that had turned to sprawl. Or Brian, who told me all about the drinking and drug addictions in oil camps where he'd worked his entire life. Or Rick, a rancher in Nebraska who despised that pipeline so much he decided to join me on my walk. This wasn't the America I was used to. I was away from the cities, the suburbs, the university. I was in the reddest, most conservative, most gun-lovingest section of America. These were ranchers and farmers, people who often felt ignored, forgotten, threatened. I'd accidentally found myself on what would become a tour of a Donald Trump America. And out here, I encountered an antipathy for environmentalism, a denial of climate change, but also unbelievable generosity, hospitality, and compassion. My walk was along the Keystone XL, but I don't want you to think that my book is about a pipe. I didn't want my book to be really relevant so long as the Keystone XL is relevant, and then in the bargain bin, the next. I wanted something more lasting. This book is about something much more important, and it's about climate change. I wanted to figure out, what is our duty as individuals up against something so enormous? How far should each of us go to protect our planet? What does it mean to be an engaged citizen? This book is about a unique moment in our country's history when the habits of our past are clashing with hopes of our future. When what were ordinary things like pipelines, coal plants, gas wells, are being challenged and resisted like never before. It's a book about trying to get to the heart of America by walking through its heartland. When I crossed the border into the US, I no longer felt scared. I no longer felt like a stranger to the prairie. Rather, I began to appreciate this simple, beautiful, forgotten land. I'd grown accustomed to the chatter of coyotes outside of my tent each night. Every day I'd see these giant herds of deer, sometimes like 50 of them, just soaring across the prairie and elegantly leaping over these barbed wire fences. Once in Saskatchewan, I came across this hayfield and I watched 5,000 ducks ascend and begin to swirl in the sky like a tornado about to touch down. Out there, you just feel like this solitary skiff on this ocean of grass. I never did get to escape tornadoes or gunfire with Liam, but one thing did happen. So I was about the halfway point in South Dakota, and I just walked onto a cow pasture, and I hear this rolling thunder behind me. And I look back for a moment, just one blip of a second, and I saw the most amazing, terrifying, makes my legs wobbly thing I'd ever seen. It was a tidal wave of muscle pouring down the hill, a horde of black Angus cows just 10 yards behind me. Their hooves launching tufts of grass into the air, their huge bodies moving across the prairie in this thunderous, ground-shaking roar. And the worst of my fears had come true. I was being attacked by cows. And there was only one word on my mind, which communicated itself to me in a not-so-hushed tone of not-so-poised determination. Run. Thank you.